Hold on. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to our Agile Austin Leaders Special Interest Group. And today we're going to have Kemmy from Toronto talking to us about creating team alignment. But before I hand over to Kemmy, I'd like to just do some quick intro slides, as in you are being recorded. And so I will also mute you from time to time if I hear some noise in the background. And if you're concerned about being recorded, I tell people, go on mute, turn off your camera, change your name. It'll be as if you were never here, okay? The beauty of this. Agile Austin, this special interest group is part of the larger Agile Austin umbrella where we connect, collaborate, and we mainly just want to bring together that people that have a passion of Agile. Let's share the knowledge. Let's share it and the love. I've been a member of Agile Austin now for, must be since 2010, so 12 years, and it's a blast. It's a blast. For anybody that might be interested in becoming a member or sponsorship, stuff like that, please. Sponsorship as in your company, you own a company, you're part of a company that might want to sponsor, please go to agileaustin.org and all the information is there, okay? And besides this SIG, the leader SIG, Agile Austin, we have about 7 to 9 meetup sessions every month. And so I really like to tell folks, go to meetup.com. I'll type it right now. Meetup.com/AgileAustin and register, sign up so that you get, it's free. You just get all the alerts of all the sessions we have. If you have an interest in more coaching, we have a SIG for that. Scrum Master, we have a SIG for that, right? Just lean Kanban is just, people just join and they put topics up on the Kanban and they just talk about stuff that folks are interested in. It's like just an awesome way to tap into things specifically in Agile that you might have an interest in. And so board, I have the honor of being the president on the board. And we've got a phenomenal board, but we put this in there just in case people have new ideas. Someone wants to share something, email us, board@agileaustin.org. We're always trying to, continuous improvement. We improved our site in the last year. Which has really helped out with our membership count has gone very high, but we still need more volunteers if folks would be interested in having to get involved. Not social media. We have enough people that have volunteered in the last few weeks, and we're creating a social media committee because, some of us aren't as social media savvy as we should be. So that's going to be something we do. But if you have an interest in, co-hosting a SIG, we really want to start up a product SIG, which we had in the past that we did not. And maybe there's a SIG that some people might have and think is very cool and say, hey, I'd be interested in that. I've also thought of like a podcast, an Agile Austin podcast. I mean, everybody has a podcast, right? It's a cool thing to do, right? So we want to be cool too, like that. But contact agileaustin.org, okay? That's the email. Myself, Max Akesi. I'm going to keep it brief. I have been a member at Agile Austin, as I said, for 12 years. The president right now, I'm a IT senior manager at PayPal. And the one thing I always say is, it's incredible when you're a part of something like this Leader SIG that I founded around 2010. It's incredible to see the transition, the evolution of where Agile was then and now. We had topics at the beginning about how to do release planning well, how to estimate story points, how to do various things like that. Now we've stepped it up a notch to psychological safety. We've gone to team alignment. We've gone to all these other things which really make the difference, right? And who do I have to mute that I'm here in the background?
That would be Diego.
Diego, who? There's so many people now that I'm thinking, who do I have to meet? I'm muting all sorts of people.
Actually, I'm sorry, that would be Heather. She's the one that's lighting up.
Mute yourself. Mute yourself, folks, if you join. I can't
Max,
see
I think you can mute us all if you'd like. I think there's an option to just mute all. Yeah.
You know what? That might be something that I do after. Yes, if it happens again. Thank you, Karen. So, don't want to spend too much time on the speakers that are coming up, but I just wanted to say, if people have an interest in sharing something here at the leader's sake, because here we talk about how to lead agile adoptions, right? Anything, any role you might have, developer, executive, tester, or whatever, coach, how can you help lead agile adoptions? If you would like to hear about a particular topic, please also contact me, okay? I'll put my link out there and everything. And we, with that, will go on. As I transition to Kemmy, I just like to say, I'm so excited for having Kemmy here. We had been talking about having Kemmy here a few months back, but you know, it didn't work. Kemmy was playing hard to get, but she's here now. She's here now, okay? Kemmy is awesome. I met her at a Scrum gathering when we actually used to meet in person way back then, okay, like 2019 or something. And besides Kemmy being Nigerian, and I am also Nigerian, I think that was also cool, but even more cool is just I've heard her speak at conferences, the topics she talks about, and creating team alignment. I'll just say, as I stop sharing and I transition to her, I'm so excited to hear about this because I have never seen, in my whole 20 years experience, never seen anything of real awesome value delivered just by one person. Like everything delivered by just one person.
Match this, Max.
Yeah, no, I've just never seen it. There's always been someone that has helped that person deploy that code, or someone that's helped support or whatever, always. So we always work in teams. So Kemmy here is gonna share with us, how can we more effectively work and align with teams? Oh, I'm so excited, Kevi.
Oh my gosh, Max, you something else. But thank you so much. It is so good to be here. I know we've tried a couple of times to meet and it didn't happen, but hey, the right time is now. Yeah, so I am gonna share my screen. I'm gonna minute. If I can find the share button. Yep, here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we do, Kemmy.
Okay, and I'm just gonna.
Go
so when I was slideshow, okay. Sorry, this desktop is still new to me. So, all right. So when I was sending my topic across to Max, it wasn't quite formulated, but I knew what I wanted to share, and I didn't want to share another tool or another template or another activity, so to say, because a lot of times when we're talking about team alignment or team building, it's usually some activities or some workshop that people tend to go into. So if you have read the outcome and you have a different outcome for yourself in terms of what you're going to be taking away, it might be slightly different, but that's still okay. I guess that's what conference or meetup or attending this kind of talk is all about. We can pivot to, and it still meets the needs of it, but you're still going to take something away, I promise you. So I don't usually know how to introduce myself. I struggle with that. I'm still learning. However, my name is Kemmy. It has never changed. What I've done in the past have kind of like evolved, and I've grown in time. I live in Toronto, and I'm an Agile coach, and amongst other things that I do, I enjoy supporting people. I guess my life purpose was something along the line of I'm the touch that shines on people so that they can find their hidden gem. So, and on that basis is what I'm going to focus on, creating team alignment, coaching. Because often, like I said, we look at people, individuals, we want to create a fantastic team, but we forget the relationship between those people or teams that we're coaching, and we just dive into, these are the outcomes I want for them, or what is it that you want to take away from whatever workshop that you might have prepared to them. So today, still the same outcome, but from the angle of coaching. So from the stance of coaching, how do we create team alignment? How do we ensure that people are on the same page, or at least on the same page when it comes to the vision, the goals of the teams of the organization? How do we get them to communicate what they are about, to be free to talk to one another, to work as a team, to work in the same direction, and most importantly, to be committed to have a skin in the game? So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about will be from the stance of a coach, whether you're a Scrum Master, whether you're an Agile coach, product manager, project manager, at some point you're still a coach because you're working with people. And perhaps it is just about you. How do you coach yourself? How do you look inwards? So, and we're looking for sameness and differences in conversation in terms of people dreaming, or people looking at the current state, maybe the negative or the positive part of what is happening within the team or within them. And then how do we ensure all voices are heard? I'm sure you would have been in a meeting where one or two people, or the same people, constantly contributing, and the same people were silent. Someone like me, if you don't ask me, I don't speak. So how do we get those people to talk? In the chat box, I would like you to type in some of the challenges that you are faced, or someone is faced in a new or an existing team or teams that you've worked with. What are some of the challenges? Let's take a minute and just start in the chat box.
Well, people have opinions on this. Surprise, surprise.
Communication, participation, time box. Team members are quiet, don't talk. I have to prompt them. Yeah. Politics. Oh, wow. Yeah. Long-winded, different ways of doing things. We all have different ways. Yes. How to be productive, creating safe environment for everyone to talk, working in silo, getting to know styles, egocentric, dominators, favorite, expectations. The team we just finished building out is entirely virtual and new, getting team to bond, keeping teams focused on plan, hearing from the quiet one, competition. Wow, wow, it keeps going. And yes, yeah, alignment versus consensus. And we can talk about alignment versus consensus, maybe in the question and answer session, because that's a good one. Investment in Scrum, humanizing the team. Yeah. Trust, group thinking, mix the old new. Yeah. And these are quite some of the challenge, increasing morale and keeping. And these are the things that when we go in as Scrum Master, and I'm going to focus, I'm just going to label Agile coaches. So whatever role you're playing, I'll just label it as Agile coach. As an Agile coach, when you go in, you have some set of outcomes you want for the team. And I like that when someone said, how do you put human into the team? So a lot of the things I'm going to be sharing with you today from Ask. But in the meantime, here are the things that why you need your team to be aligned. And I think some of them we've already mentioned in terms of the challenges that you face. But when you look at the outcome of those challenges or the results of those challenges, you find out the staff turnover. How many times have you have a team left because they're not happy, or they're not just sure the direction of the team in which they are working, or even the productivity? I've worked with teams whereby they will wait for the manager to tell them what to do, right? And that's because there is no alignment in terms of what they need to be doing, or maybe there is no trust, or there is a blame culture. There are various challenges that they face. And then you want them to be aligned because they are able to make decisions a lot faster because they know what's going on. And alignment doesn't mean that you're giving them a free hand or giving them a blank check. It just means that they know the boundaries of which or the remit in which they are operating. So it makes sense to allow them to make decisions within the team or the teams. And overall, as an organization, you want to have the agility to pivot and or to be able to adapt to the changing market. If your team are not in agreement with what the vision, or they don't even have a clear vision, it's going to be very hard for them to contribute to the market, to the products and services in which you're building. So how do we achieve team alignment? And this is going to be a coaching stance. A lot of all of this from ASK, which is the organizational and relationship system coaching. It is I don't want to say framework, but the set of trainings that you go through as a coach. And this is something the training I have been through, and I find the tools very useful to use. In ASK, there is something called the 3 levels of reality. And as a coach, when we are working with teams, we want to kind of like figure out where are they in terms of their level of thinking, or in terms of how they are operating. Sorry, I missed the title here. I just realized that. So this is the 3 levels of reality. And the consensus level, and someone was talking about alignment or consensus the other in the chat. The consensus level is the real world. These are things that are currently happening, and there could be challenges that the team is facing. And you will often hear them talk about this every now and then. You ask them a question, and they probably will tell you, oh, that's the way we've always done it, or it's not going to work, or they keep repeating the same thing. Even though you've kind of like tried to shift their perspective, but they never move away from what is happening. They're talking about now, talking about today, talking about the challenges that they're going to face, or something that is going to happen. This is good, but when people are constantly on this level, it is very, very difficult to motivate them, especially if it's impacting them negatively. So they would often have data, figures to back this up, and it's so hard for you to help them shift that. However, as a coach, and you notice this happening, you want to take them back to, what was it that made you join the team, for instance? What were you expecting? So you take them to that dream level, and they start to look at the positivity in that team, or they start to look at the positivity within the organization, or perhaps the positivity in the product or services that they're building. And you're looking for those body languages, a shift in it, or maybe a smile, and you want to tap into that. And someone that is dreaming would kind of like be in the unconscious mode now, and you want to tap into that. What are your expectations here? What are your hopes? What are your fears? So again, just like we always say, that there is a limit to what you can, where you can be at any point in time. When people will stay in this level for too long, it's equally dangerous. So you want to make sure that they're in between as you're taking them into the consensus level, you're equally taking them into the dreaming level. So as a coach, knowing when your team has stayed too long at a level or you want them to shift is very important, because that way they don't get too fatigued. And then the last one is the sentient essence. This, it's very, very hard to describe. This is just something that you don't know how to say it. You just feel it before it happens. It's just like you getting a job or you've been told you won millions, and that feeling of excitement that you cannot describe just pop up. And that's the essence level. With these 3 levels, when you're working with team to create alignment, you want to look at that. And that would help you determine the questions to pose to them and how committed they are within the team. And perhaps you want them to look at the values that they're bringing to the team. You wanted them to think about what the future will be, not just for them, but for this team that they have belonged to. So as a coach, why is this important for you? Let's type in the question in the chat box what you can take away just looking at this chat. Let's have a minute. Purpose to connect. Flow. Yes, it is visionary brainstorming. I wouldn't want to say brainstorming per se. It is just helping them to connect with the future, or perhaps the reason that they're doing the job that they're doing. There's always that dream that, or perhaps maybe you've just gotten a new job and you've dreamt about how the team is going to be, the organization is going to be. So they're dreaming about it, not so much about brainstorming, because brainstorming could be consensus or dreaming as well, right? Shared values and ownership, yeah. And this is important
Kemmy,
because, yes.
Sorry if I chime in, but I really love this slide, and something that connects to me, especially that I think it's maybe more in the dreaming level, I'm not sure, is I've seen that I get a lot of success when I try to set a North Star, because it's not a goal, it's a direction. It's a direction. So then people can start to understand, oh, okay, we want to go in that direction. We want to have more of like an iterative mindset and be very adaptable to change that could happen. And so people start to go in a direction. And because sometimes when I felt in the past, you drop goals out there, people don't, okay, what's my next step? I know that's what you want me to be, but what's my next step? Which way am I going to go? So that North Star and going together in a direction.
Yeah, that is right. Setting goals. And I think that's something that as an Agile coach, we tend to kind of like move from those stances. So at this particular one, it's more of professional coaching where you don't, as a coach, set anything, and that conversation can go anywhere. And you are then supporting the system to reveal itself. So you're relaying what you're observing. And that is what helps them to come together as a team. For instance, if you, maybe they're in the dreaming level and you're saying to them, I could see there's some joyfulness within this team. Everyone is just laughing and saying something that is similar. You said this, you said it, and I can tell that you both have some same values. And they say, oh yeah, that's right. Right. So they connect there. And in the consensus as well, maybe there's a blame culture there. And you could just say to them, you blame this person and you feel that someone is blaming you. Again, you're revealing what you're hearing to them versus you actually having a North star for them, and it's okay. But is it their North Star? Is that the place they want to go? So you take them to where they want to go. And this is not that you cannot use it with any alignment tools or those team chartering tools. It is just you embodying the meta skills here, right? That you, while you show up, what you're observing. So bringing your observational skills mostly into this. And this is probably what you see when the team is interacting. All right. So the third entity, another thing which I look for is a relationship or within a system. When two or more people come together, there is this third entity, there is this third person, and it's called the relationship. And when we're doing team alignment, or we are lifting up teams, we ask people, what do you want? What do you want for your team? And they all say, oh, what is it that you don't want? What are the values that you portray? And we might sometimes ramp it up and say, okay, select 3 or 4 of these values. And then they make it their team value. So they make it a logo or icon or whatever that workshop might have been. However, another thing we can add to it is that what is it that the system is telling us? This relationship, what is it that the relationship wants? If you work in a team and they are just doing their own thing, they don't want to come together as one team, you don't want to. If people are doing their own stuff and don't care about the sprint goal, for instance, I've done my work and I'm done. Kemmy is just doing hers. Right? So what is it that the system, what is it that the relationship want us to, how the relationship want us to act? And that is what the third entity means. And it could be in a relationship of, what am I saying? It could be a couple as well. It could be business partners. Where there are 2 or more people, there is always this third person there. And ASK, that's the organizational and relationship coaching, focus more on this third entity in building alignment so as to reveal the system to itself. So you would often have people speak an individual and then speak for the relationship or for the system. So this will make it a bit more clearer when you have me, you, so we are 2 together. And then this is the voice of the system. This is the voice of the system. And as a coach, you want to be here because that's what you want to focus on the most. If you are here, which is okay because they've got to speak and they've got to talk about the system, if they're here, you miss the here. And it's very hard to create that alignment because everyone will be sharing what and why or how they want to operate versus how the team should be operating. What is it that we want to see within our team? How do we want to grow together? What are the things that the system does not like? So that's what the third entity is about. It's a tool on itself, but as a skill that you can just go in and start using right away. This is much about what you can do. Again, you can start looking at that and revealing it. And the way it tends to work is that when 2 people or more are together, you can ask them to step into the third entity and say, what do you think your relationship is saying right now? What is a voice that we want to hear from the relationship? And you'll be surprised when people start to tell you that, especially if they work in a team where everything works. So they start to share with you that. So in the chat box, let's type in, what are some of the personal rules that you refuse to break? It could be within your team. It could be on a personal note. What are personal rules that you refuse to break? Working overtime.
You go potty?
Start and end meeting on time.
Yeah, respect. Leading with kindness, respect, throwing someone under the bus. Respect, consideration for others, kindness.
Ooh,
Being what kind, yeah.
and I like Pat's song with people come first.
People come first, definitely. Oh, you wouldn't do that, okay. Yeah, and these are all good. And I'm not asking anybody to break their personal rules. However, you want to look at, how does it show up when you are within a team? How does that show up if you want the team to move together? If someone was to step on that rule or rules, how will it impact you within the team, number one? How will it impact the team as a whole? And perhaps some of these roles you want to compromise or maybe not. Or perhaps you want to bring it to the team and say, hey, this is something that I do not want to break. How is the system going to accommodate it? How do we want to either embrace it or talk about it when this happens? So it is not just about you, but it's about you looking at the system itself. There is this value exercise that I tend to do when doing team chartering, which is creating team alignment as well, that I ask the people, the teams to look at the values and then put them into buckets and say, hey, which is it that a team could live with and which ones do you want to uphold? And you just get them to start talking about it, and you will find out that there are some commonalities and there are some values that people just would not want to compromise. But then again, how about the team? Perhaps if your values and beliefs doesn't align with what the team, your team is about, how do you want to handle that? Similarly, you're looking at your team that you're coaching. What makes them to work together? How are people relating or talking about their values? Because this is very important to be open about it in order for people to work best together. All right. Original myth. Mainly, this is something about the ideas that we have when we're going into trying something new, or perhaps something that has been handed over to us about some occupation, about some team or organization, or something that we've always done in the past, and we still hold on to it. It could be good, it could be bad. It could be an individual, it could be within the team. We've always done it this way. Things will never change around here. Kemmy is always coming late because she has to do this. So we know that this is within that team, or we can't get anybody to speak. This happens a lot within the team. And if you don't get or don't support your team to dig deeper into the reason behind this myth, it will be very difficult for them to move forward together. You will still be holding certain people back. And I've kind of like put together some questions to help people go deeper into their original myth and question why, and perhaps have a rethink about the myth that they hold. And also these questions are going to help the team, and most especially the individual, to realize why they joined the team in the first instance, or why they joined the organization. And this could tie into the dream level that I showed earlier on, right? About the questions you can ask people so that they can get dreaming. If you ask someone, what was it that you were doing 2 years ago? Oh yeah, 2 years ago. So they go into their creativity, and that brings them back. So this is some of the questions you can ask. What attracted you to this team and organization? And you want them to stay on the positive side of things, even if they want to go into that negative one. What did you first appreciate about working with each other? What do you admire or appreciate about each other? Sometimes when we have conflict, or we have confrontation with people we don't agree, it is so easy to focus on that thing that we forget other things that might have done. So you were doing this for them to remove that conflict, that topic that is getting in the way, and for them to see the individual as a person versus troublesome Kemmy. Yeah, we want to remove that and just let them appreciate it. So what is the quest or mission that the team must embrace to succeed? Again, this is dreaming. And then what is a metaphor, name, or iconic figure that will characterize the best expression? A metaphor usually works. I've heard quite a few. I'm not very good at metaphors, but I've heard quite a few that some people actually live by it. And they keep reminding themselves within the team that we are this, we are that. And that sends a message, and even a deeper message to them, that they often come back and talk about how they can get better. So original myth is all about historical information or things that we hold dearly. It could be positive, mostly positive, and it could be negative, but we want to stay in that dreamer level and balance with some consensus as well. So how do you get quiet people into the conversation? Let's spend a minute in the chat box. What have you tried? Using chat, asking them, anonymous survey, 1, 2, 3 for all, yet liberating structures, rotating meeting leadership, gently inviting them into conversation. Yes, and direct question, draw them into a conversation. I will call them out specifically, talking offline, encouraging them. Yeah. Allow shy people to submit directly to me. Yes. All right.
Yeah, Kemmy, because I'm a very shy individual. I'm an introvert, as you could tell. And I think
no.
that
Nice try, Max. Nice try.
I would say that the one thing that has stood out to me is that in this last 2 years, in this virtual environment, it's so much easier to hear from everybody via Slack and chat than the one dominating person on a particular topic. If you get in a meeting, you still get a feel for that on a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting. There's some people that can dominate more. But when it's more just board where people are chatting and sharing ideas, I hear from people that I'd never heard before. And I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. That's awesome. That's something that has come across more since COVID. It's
Yeah,
sped that up.
and yes, Max, you're right. And I think the first one is to inclusiveness. When I was putting this slide together, I thought of using Mentimeter, but I thought, how would that include people that don't or are using their phones to join? I'm kind of like indirectly excluding them from, because they're not able to navigate through.
Exactly.
Yes, so I said, well, I just ask people to type on the chat. So I guess it's looking at ways in which people are going to be interacting with what we're doing. And yes, Slack, and sometimes it could be very, very quiet on that Slack channel. And I have devised some other ways in just getting people to engage. And yeah, it's just all about experimenting. All right. So there are a lot of ways in which people have tried to get quiet people to speak in meetings, but I am an introvert, not like Max introvert. And it can be very difficult. If I'm not going to speak, I am not going to speak. Yeah, share agenda ahead and question ahead does tend to help. And you're right. But if people are not going to speak out, they're not going to speak out. One thing that has worked for me is designing that into an agreement or what we call design alliance. And I'll tell you a short story. I worked with a team not too long ago. In my first couple of weeks with them, because as a facilitator, you're not meant to call people out, right? You're just meant to throw it out there and say, hey, I haven't heard from these people on the side, or what, let's hear from the quiet people. It was just as if, you know, I was in a graveyard and no one said a word and there was no camera on. So that even made it worse. And I was waiting. No one said anything. And there was these two people that talk. I love them to bits, but they're always the one talking. So this day, I was waiting and waiting. And one of them wanted to speak. I said, good idea, but give me 1 minute. Let me just hear from those people first. And the person said, Kemmy, they're never going to speak. I thought, what? Really? She went, yes, they're never going to speak. You have to call them out. I thought, I can't call them out. So what I did was to just line up their names and not call one person. I just line up. I haven't heard from A, B, C, D, E. It would be nice to hear from you all. And that was it. And they started talking. But there is this thing I have learned, and it's deep democracy. And I introduced the team to that, that all voices must be heard. If we have to move forward together, then we should be speaking. Either you're going to type it in a chat if you have a noisy background, but we are all agreeing to say something. And that worked because they started to talk. And every morning I will call out their names, not because I want them to talk, but I will greet them personally. And because I know about them as well, I would often inject something into that greetings. So they know that I'm not calling them out. It has become part of me that I need to hear everybody's voices within the team. So what is deep democracy? And it's just that feeling when you talk about our personal life, it's you listening to your voice. You know, some people will say, I have this many voices in my head, not those crazy ones, but these voices in my head that is telling me to go left, that is telling me to go right, and you're listening to them. In a relationship, it is listening to your partner and giving them that airtime to talk and say, hey, how is it going for you? And in a system, it's input from everybody. So everybody has to say one word. So it's not so much about how they communicate, whether it's chat or speaking or Slack, but you're given that opportunity. And I don't have anything to say, it's equally a response, but they have to contribute to something within the team. And that's how the team will work together. That's how you would be able to get alignment from your team, because they've contributed. They take ownership for being part of that team, and they move together, when it comes to decision making. All right. I'm sharing this, not so much to talk about it, however, how you can get people to be more involved within a Scrum setup. And daily Scrum, I shared with you about how I will greet everybody on a personal note and add something to it. And this part of it is about building relationship as a coach with that team so that they can talk to me, and also building conversation platforms for them to speak. So it is not just that place on Slack or that place on Daily Scrum that they will communicate. So they're able to build the relationship amongst themselves. They know what they're doing. For instance, every now and then with some of the teams I work with, one person would talk about their passion. We've had people come up with cooking. There was this guy that was talking about stargazing. They showed us all this equipment, so it was just great knowing what people do outside of work. Weekly meeting, retrospective. What are we doing this week, or what are we doing next week? What is it that we want to plan? How do we want to move forward? So a lot of alignment can go in here. Assigning or asking people to take up actionable items that they're going to be doing at retrospective would give them opportunity to feel part of a team. Coffee chats, release planning, all these are ways in which you can inject some or all of the tools that I've shared with you today. You can start to look at when people are talking, where are they? Are they in consensus, or are they in a dreamer level? How can you get people to start talking? How can you ensure that everybody has something to say within in a meeting, and working with those people that would sometimes hold the floor? There is something in us that we call rank, and rank, it's not a bad thing. It's just that we use it unconsciously, and it could be that Kemmy know more about Toronto that Max knows. So when Max come over to Toronto, I'm just showing off, right, unconsciously, and Mark might feel the impact and say, oh, okay, now, so we have to be very careful of how we show up in meetings. And as a coach, you're revealing this to the system, you're revealing this and say, I noticed this happening. Is this right? And they might tell you no, and they might tell you, yes, it is. So creating team alignment, it goes beyond just team chartering, and I make a list of these tools. It goes beyond putting together liberating structures using Miro. It is more of a coach showing up and how you want your team to gel together. And that was what I did after thinking about what should I do in terms of creating team alignment. I want to go deeper into the human part of it versus here is another activity that you can do with your team. So.
And sorry, do you mind if I chime in real quick?
Go ahead, it's more of questions now.
Also, we even have a little bit of time for Q&A. I'll just start with just one, and people, if you want to chat a question or whatever, and we'll go to that. We've got about 9 minutes left. Kemmy, it's great to hear you talk about all the meetings and having to get the involvement of everyone from a team perspective. And what I've noticed is that I've been doing a lot of alignment initiatives at the organizational level. And even then, I've noticed that some directors, some decision makers don't speak up as much when there's a change that we're making that can impact hundreds of people in the way we work, right? Whether it be roadmap planning, portfolio, how we chunk up our work for our quarter. And I really want to hear from those folks. And I've seen that the best thing to do is just schedule a one-on-one with that particular person and hear that person out, especially when it is a change that impacts hundreds of people. Because then I bring it up as a proposal. Hey, Vinesh, this is the proposal. You heard me talk about it in staff, in our VP staff, but here are some of the details. Provide me with your feedback. Tell me who in your org you'd like me to follow up with and everything. I just feel that, especially when a decision has to be made that has a big impact, you've got to sync up with people like one-on-one, or else there's so much value add that you could miss.
Yeah, and yes, you're right. You have to, but you don't have to, because it is tasking.
It takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time, and people can get away with it and keep things to themselves. They're not part of that team. They don't want to be. I mean, there's something called the team toxin, right? And there are different things that are happening in there that you want to reveal. I notice you don't speak up when so and so, right? Is there a reason to that? So you want to get to the root cause of it versus bringing it to them every time. And perhaps you want to design that within the team and say, hey, when this happens, this is how we want to be together, right? So the team has to agree to that. These are the things that, yes, this is how we are going to be behaving. These are the values that we cherish. And it could be a lot of things that they want to do, but when they come together, this is how they want to be. And this is how they don't want to be when they are together.
Excellent, Kevi. I mean, like, if you don't mind if I field a question or two real quick. Kristen asked a question about what tips do you have to foster the necessary psychological safety in the team? Good question.
Psychological safety. We talk about
a whole session. We could do a whole session on just this.
On its own. It's a whole session on its own. And I think that the short answer is designing a team alliance. And asking people to bring themselves to work. And when I say bring themselves to work, you are asking for them to be authentic. And creating that safe environment or psychological safety, it's, again, people willing to do that. You cannot create it. I work with a team, and it was, I think my first week, they told me there was a blame culture in there. And people would never speak up because, or pick up a task because they will be blamed for things that go wrong. What am I supposed to do about that? I thought, okay, so how do you want to work together within this team? Because that person that is blaming you is outside of the team. And they shared with me how they want to work together. I said, great. And this is how we're going to work. And I'm going to have a conversation with that person that is always blaming you. As it turns out, that person didn't even realize it. So you're helping that team to create that within themselves. You can't create it. And hopefully you can help them remove what is preventing from them from getting that psychological safety. But it's so many things. Sometimes it's within that person, how they feel. Sometimes it's how they feel with those two people that maybe they're having a conversation with. Maybe it's something they feel within the whole of the team, or something that they cannot even articulate. So taking them back to the reason why they joined the team might help them to think of the good things and say, okay, what will it be if this doesn't happen again? Right? How would the team be?
And I really like, Kemmy, how you emphasized people have to feel comfortable with bringing themselves to work and being authentic. But then the other people have to feel comfortable with whatever that authentic person is. You have to hash out, from a team perspective, how to deal with all these, because some people might be very much just about focus on what they have to do and not the team. And that's just how they are, and say, it's okay, express yourself, be yourself. And now let's work together to have our team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's not dismissing what people have said. And another thing about deep democracy is people speaking, like I said, but at the same time, acknowledging what that person is going through and say, Kemmy, you said this. Max, you said this. These are all valid points, but together, how are we going to be? So they come into an agreement about that.
Excellent, excellent. There was a question about the slides. So we have a recording of this that will go on our Agile Austin YouTube channel. But Kemmy, if you could make the slides available to me, I will post them also. And as long as you signed up, which if you're all here, you signed up via Meetup, they will be communicated via Meetup, the link to the slides.
Thank you so much. Feel free to scan that. I would love to connect with people on LinkedIn. And it's so nice to be in Austin this afternoon. I've been to Austin. It's a beautiful place. I enjoyed the meal. I didn't eat very much when I went there, but it was beautiful.
It is the place to be, Austin. It's not as cold as Toronto. How is Toronto now? Just to, talk about it just for a little bit. How's the weather now in Fahrenheit?
I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit because we don't do that here, but it is minus 11 degrees Celsius.
Minus 11. Can someone do a quick Google
great.
search? Which is great. It's actually a really nice day in Toronto.
It is a nice day. I know we have a snow dump yesterday, but it is beautiful.
Excellent. It must be like for us in the US, Fahrenheit, that's like maybe like around 9 or 10 degrees. But folks, as we conclude, I would like to say special thanks to Kemmy for showing up and presenting on team alignment. Round of applause. You can do a virtual round of applause. And I'm also going to ask if people can turn on their camera for a Brady Bunch picture that we're going to do, okay? I know it's asking folks for a lot. Just turn it on for a second. And while you turn on the camera, I'd like to say shout out to all the people that joined from Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, Plano. Our Texas folks are always here in numbers. You're awesome. But we also had Richmond, Virginia, Kansas, Atlanta, Kent. Where is Kent? Ohio? Is that Kent, Ohio? Yeah,
Kent,
okay.
England.
Kent, England? Okay, we have to be specific, folks, okay? We do have folks, Denver, always here, San Francisco, and internationally, Kemmy and a couple of other people from Canada. We always have a Canadian, and we have someone from Brazil also. So thanks for showing up. Thanks for showing up. Okay, everybody, smile now. I've got you on camera. Keep on smiling. Straight it. There you go. And hold on. There you go. I got it captured. Okay, folks, thanks for showing up. I put the link to the next one in March in the chat. I'll also put it on a Meetup, but stay safe and stay agile, folks. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye, Erson. Bye, Michael. Bye, Brian. Tanya, bye. Carrie, bye. GSSIPSE, bye to you. Bye, Niranjan. And let's call it a day.